he never asked me to make him anything knitted or crochet. So when he asked me to make him a hat, I just dropped everything. Good day everyone, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Mariette, also known as the Boervrou, and this is episode 11 of the Crafty Stitches Podcast. Today is the 16th of May 2022, and we are going nearer to winter. We can feel it in the air. It's colder in the nights. The days are quite cold, but this is now in the middle of the day, so I just took off my jersey that I had on the whole morning because now it's a little bit better, and I think in about an hour's time or so I will need it again. But anyway, so I have so much things to share with you today, so I better get right into it because, as I said, I've got a lot to share. I also wanted to say thank you so much for all of the returning viewers. I really appreciate you coming back and visiting with me. And if you are new, very welcome here. I hope that you are going to enjoy this content. So, as you can see, I'm not wearing any knitting. So, let's just dive right into this episode. I do have a finished object, as I'm sure you saw. Which is my Out-Stranding Shawl by Crafty Archer. And I am so proud of this project. I used double knit yarns instead of fingering weight yarns. My shawl is a little bit bigger than the others, or than the measurements on the pattern. I think in total mine is about 14 or so centimeters longer in the span of the shawl, but this is what it looks like. I hope you can see. It's quite big, so it's a little bit of a problem to show and not get it into my coffee, of course. Anyway, so when I recorded my previous episode, I was at that stitch marker there, which is the Progress Keeper, which is a Progress Keeper by, a Progress Keeper by Itsy Klein. And I finished the shawl and the border, and I actually washed and blocked it. I actually used Crafty Archer's video on how to block your shawls, and I think that is also why my shawl is a little bit bigger than the calculations that we made, because I think I blocked it more aggressively. But I am not unhappy with it. I think it's amazing. It's just a lovely size to wear, and yeah, I really do love the colors that I did. It is actually my first ever knitted color work that I've knitted into a project. I will be honest, the color work was a little bit of a torture for me because I am an English style knitter, and we had to do the color work on the purl side. So that was very interesting. My hands was in each other's way like you cannot believe, because I was holding the color in my my left hand, like continental style, although I am an English style knitter, so I just kept the main color in my right hand. But anyway, I survived it. and I love the result. It is really, really beautiful. As you can, I hope you can see. Anyway, let me put it on quickly. Alright, so this is what it looks like, the shawl. I'm imagining this is how I would mostly wear it, or around my shoulders. But yes, very, very happy with how it came out. Alright, so the yarns that I used for the shawl is this main color is L Cotton On DK. It is 100% virgin cotton, approximately 415 meters on 250 grams, and this was the colorway Clay. Colorway is discontinued. And then I used 3 different yarns for the stripes. The top stripe, this purple, and the green is Moya double knit yarns, which is 135 meters on 50 grams. It is a South African hand dyed yarn. This purple is called Sangria and this one is called Apple. And then I also used some Kismet yarns. This is 100% pure cotton and it is 100 meters on 50 grams. They do not have colorway names, but I used this dark pink and the medium pink of that brand, and this border is also the same Raisa Kismet yarns. And this is actually what I have left of a 50-gram ball after doing the border. I actually did the border and when I bound off I ran out, so I had to rip back I think 2 rows because I had to be on the front side or something, and then bound off again. And this is what I have left. I almost had nothing left, but I had about 1/3 of the stitches still on my needle when I ran out of yarn. But anyway, and then the only other yarn I used was this L Premier double knit mercerized cotton, and it was, oh, this is discontinued, but it was 108 grams on 50, 108 meters on 50 grams, and this was the colorway Lilac, which is this light purple one here. So yes, that is the yarns that I used for the Out-Stranding. I used 5.5mm needles for the shawl, and I did go down 1 needle size for the border as recommended by the pattern to a 5mm needle. And then my shawl in total weighs 386 grams. So it's much heavier than the fingering weight versions. I'm not exactly sure how much yarn the other people used that made the shawl. On Nitty Natty's podcast, the 11th Stitches podcast, she actually shared her leftovers after she finished the shawl. And they had 100 grams of main color and 250 grams of contrasting color. And she used quite a lot of the one contrast color, but the other one, she only used like 3 or 8 grams or something. And so I think mine is just over double what hers weighs. And it's surprisingly warm for a light colored shawl. So I'm going to take it off before continuing. Alright, so let's go into WIPS. Okay, my first WIP is my Beekeeper Cardigan. In my previous episode, I still had to do the neckband, the button bands, and the finish off the arms, the sleeves. So I did do the neckband, and one of the button bands on the one side. I haven't started on the sleeves yet. So I'm very, very happy with how this is coming out. I think you won't have to tempt me too much to knit another one. I did change a few things on this cardigan that I will definitely change a little bit more if I knit another one. I added some increases to the body, but I think I should have started, I'm sure you can see it very pronounced there, I should have started higher up with this increasing, but if I put this cardigan on, you don't really see that at all because of the way that it is lying on my body. So another thing that I changed is that in the pattern, the ribbing is another recommended differently. So I decided to do 2x2 ribbing all around my cardigan, as you can see here at the bottom. And then I did a Russian bind off. I used a specific tutorial. I will link it down below because I see that there's lots of different ones and none of the other ones looks like this. But I did my bind off only with knit stitches to get this finish edge that I really like. And I also did it at the top, as you can see there, and on the button band. So the other thing that I changed, I picked up the stitches for the neck at the pickup ratio as recommended in the pattern, but my button band I did not use the recommended pickup ratio. I actually used a tutorial by Suzanne Bryan of working out how many stitches you should pick up for your button band, because my row gauge was not the same as in the pattern, and I was thinking that if I'm going to pick up at the ratio recommended in the pattern, my button band will most likely have too many stitches on. And I was right. I think the button band came out quite nicely. I picked up quite a few less stitches than suggested in the pattern, and I'm very, very glad that I did that. So I wanted to start the other button band. I should say that this pattern is not written or designed with buttons in mind. It's actually designed to be an open cardigan without buttons. Now I also got fluff. Anyway, so I decided I want buttons for this one so that I can button it up if I want to, because I would like to also wear this under jackets, and then I would like to button it up. So the reason I didn't start this button band is that I don't have the buttons yet for the button band, and before I can make the button band with the holes, I want to have the buttons first so that I know how big to make the buttonholes. So I was inspired by Martina from the Wild Knitting podcast. Her channel name is We Grow Wild. I'll also link it down below. I did link her in the previous episode. But she makes wooden buttons from olive wood. And I was so inspired by this, I decided I want to make buttons for my Beekeeper cardigan. So I got my husband to help me out, and we used some of the eucalyptus wood that is on the farm. The trees was grown on the farm, and so the wood is from the farm that we live on, and he helped me to cut the buttons, and this is one of my prototypes. It's not been oiled yet. I think I still need to finish it a little bit more, but this is one of my prototypes of what my buttons is going to look like. The moment they get oiled, they will get a little bit more color, I think. But that is what I'm planning to do. So I've got a whole little tin here with buttons in it, but I must still finish up to put onto this cardigan. So I'm first going to finish up the buttons before I knit this button band, so that I can know how big to make the buttonholes. So it's very inspired by a hand knitted garment with handmade buttons. I think that's quite nice. But anyway, so that is my Beekeeper cardigan. I don't know if there's anything else I wanted to say about it. I don't think so. So the moment I'm finished with the buttons and the button band, I will pick up all of these stitches and finish the sleeves. I really enjoyed this project. So let me put this away. Right, so my second WIP is my Irene Socks. It is a pattern from Tracy of the Grocery Girls, and I am knitting these socks with Teresa Yarncreations Clio base, which is 75% superwash merino and 25% nylon. It is a 3-ply fingering sock weight yarn. It is a sock set that I have swapped with my friend Leanie from Independence Crochet, and I decided to make this socks. So in the previous episode I was at this point. These socks are knitted cuff down, and I have finished the first one. I did use the mini hank that came with it for the toes as well as the heel. And then I also didn't do the toe that is written in the pattern. I just did the toe as I normally do for my socks. And the socks fit me very well. So this is a really beautiful colorway. As you can see there, it makes this little stripes with a variegated stripe and the solid stripe. And this is what the patterning of the sock looks like. It's really pretty. I'm really enjoying this pair of socks. So this is the first sock that's completed, and I did cast on the second sock, and this is how far I came with the second sock. I am knitting these on magic loop, obviously, and my 2.5mm Chiagu needles. And I am making a 64 stitch sock. I usually do a 60 stitch sock for myself, vanilla socks. But I am thinking my gauge have definitely changed since I started knitting socks up to now. I definitely became a tighter knitter. My gauge is much more tight than it was in the beginning. So I'm not sure if it is because of that I needed to do a 64 stitch sock for myself. Because if I remember correctly, my vanilla socks that I made with the Knotty Habit yarns was still 60 stitches, and that fit me nicely. I must actually check the gauge. But anyway, so this is how far I came. Let me move the marker. This is another Progress Keeper by Itsy Klein. And yes, I'm really enjoying this these socks. I can just quickly show you. This is the mini that I have here in my 50-gram yarn cake cozy, which is too big because this was a 30-gram mini. So the cozy is a bit big, but it's fine, it's working. And then this is my 100-gram yarn cake cozy that I have the 80-gram main color in, which is also a teensy bit too big because it's made for 100 grams, but it's working out very well. I can maybe just mention that something's coming with these, so keep your eyes peeled. Okay, so that is my second sock, the Irene Socks. I think that is everything that I needed to say about that. I'm really enjoying this sock project. The only downside for me of patterned socks is I cannot knit them in company, meaning when we have guests, because I cannot focus on speaking to people and reading the pattern. It's a bit much for me. So they are a bit of a slower knit this time round because I have to be not in company to work on them. But it's not really a problem. I really enjoy the socks. I enjoy the pattern. It's coming out really, really beautifully. Okay, so then I have a new cast on as well. Ever since I really seriously started knitting again, especially with the socks, my husband has never asked me for anything knitted before, not even the socks. I actually started knitting socks out of a necessity because I was really struggling to find good quality socks that he can wear. I'm focusing more on quality over quantity, and that was a problem for me because the socks would just never last. So I started knitting socks more out of a necessity and got hooked. But even then, he never asked me to make him anything knitted or crochet. So when he asked me to make him a hat, I just dropped everything and started looking for patterns. So it was a whole big long discussion, and at the end of the day I asked him, please just take a piece of paper and draw me a picture of what you want and I'll make a plan. So he drew me a picture and I got a pattern that matched what he likes, and I showed him the picture of the pattern and he said yes, that's what he wants. So I decided to make like a prototype. I said to him I'll make him a hat in 100% merino yarn or something of good quality, but I'm first going to make him a hat out of the acrylic yarns that I do have here until we find the exact fit that he really likes, and then I'll knit him a proper hat. Not that he won't wear this one, but I want to treat him to a proper hat. So the pattern that I'm using it more of as a guide, I think, because it is called the bun hat. Bun stands for bottom up neck flap hat. It is a free pattern on Ravelry, and you can find it by going to my project pages that will be linked down below. And the pattern is written for, I think, a chunky or an Aran weight yarn. And I am not a lover of thick, chunky yarns, so I decided to make the hat in double knit yarn. So of course the stitch counts and all of those things are not working out for me, so I used a formula that I got online many years ago. It was shared by somebody of a knitting guild, of how to work out how many stitches you need if your stitch gauge is different than what is recommended in the pattern. So I dropped everything I had been going on, and I grabbed some yarn and I knitted a gauge swatch because the hat will be knitted in the round. This is L Pure Gold in the colorway Stonewash. Stonewash is now also discontinued this year, I see in their catalog. But anyway, so he wanted a grey hat, and I did the gauge swatch, measured the gauge, and started working out the stitches. Because he requested this hat must not be like a beanie, he doesn't want it to squish his head. So this is what I have so far. So this pattern has got a garter flap that goes over the neck, although I think this is going to be more over the ears type of flap, if I look at what he exactly wants. So I'm seeing when he fit this, I took it off the needles and he fitted it, and it was a bit too big in the forehead area, so I ripped back and I cast on less stitches, and now it is fitting correctly. But I can see the way he wants to wear it on his head. This is going to be more of an ear flap than a neck flap. So I will maybe, if that is going to be like that, I might for the next one make the flap a little longer so that it can go a bit lower and cover the back of the neck as well. In the pattern, this little garter edge here is knitted to 1 inch. I didn't do that on the second try because I have not yet figured out how to do jogless garter in the round. This looks a little bit better. I tried a formula of lifting stitches and, not a formula, a tutorial of lifting stitches, but it didn't really come out exactly as I thought it should, but I don't know how to do it yet, so I'll have to figure that out, because on my first try there was like a direct line that you could see there where the jog is. So I must still figure that out, because I would like this edge in the proper hat to be longer so that it doesn't do that curling effect. It can drive me bonkers. I hate knitting that flips up. But anyway, so my second thing that I now have to do for this hat is I have to figure out how long to make the body of the hat and how I am going to decrease the crown to get to 8 stitches. Because I have almost double the amount of stitches than in the pattern, and I think, I cannot now exactly remember, but I think the decreases is done in 8 sections in the pattern, and it decreases over, I think, 16 rounds. So you will do 1 decrease round, 1 plain knitting round, 1 decrease round for 16 rounds, and then you come to 8 stitches. So I have no idea how to decrease this hat. I will still have to figure that out. I don't know if I must decrease in more sections or more stitches per row, or decrease in every row. I have no idea. I will have to figure that out still. But so far, this is a very, very enjoyable knit. I'm really enjoying knitting in the round on a smaller needle where I don't have excess cable to work with. It's really, really enjoyable. I'm really enjoying this knit. This yarn is in one of my very first yarn cake cozies that I started out with. So let me put this another Itsy Klein Progress Keeper into this hat. Seems to come out nicely, and I'm very excited. I want this hat to be exactly what he wants, because as I said, it's the first thing that he's ever requested me to knit for him. So I don't really mind ripping it back 10 or 20 times. I'll keep on ripping until it's right. I don't mind. It has to be right. So we do what we have to. Okay, so now I'm coming to my very old 2 WIPs that I'm working on. I recently made a video on how I am organizing my WIPs. in my WIP bin. If you haven't seen that, I'll link it down below for you. So these two projects that I have been working on is very old WIPs. So the first one is a little blanket that I'm making for my dog Flaffi. So it is actually granny squares that I inherited, I can say. My husband's aunt immigrated to America quite a few years ago, and when she was packing up, she gifted me this blocks and this yarn, which was made by her daughter many years ago and never finished into whatever she wanted to make. So I had these blocks. There were 4 blocks that wasn't worked into the blanket already, so I have done that now. So they are all connected, and this is how far I came with it. So it's just 3x4 blocks of granny squares, and then this yarn was with this project, and I used it to connect the rest as they were connected, and started to just work little rows around it. So I will still use this ball of yarn to finish it off. I just ran out of yarn there on the previous one that I had. And when that is finished, I think I'm going to stop. It's just a small little blanket for the dog's bed. Very proud of myself for almost finishing this project. It's just normal granny stripes, and that really goes so quick. I had a bit of a problem first that I tried to work with a 4mm hook, but that didn't work out, and it looked too tight. So I went up to a 4.5mm crochet hook, and that seemed to do the trick. Because I didn't make this, I don't know what size needle or hook she used. So that looks fine to me. So that is one of the very old WIPs getting a little bit of love. And I think by the next episode, this one might also be a finished object. So I'm very, very happy about that. All right, let me put that down. Okay. Then I have another very old WIP that I've worked on. And I must now pronounce this very nicely to not have any confusions. This is lace for my pantry. The wooden shelves in my pantry. So I made, if you watched the video, you would have seen that I had completely different lace that I crocheted for the shelves. I have 6 wooden shelves in the pantry on 2 walls. So it is quite a long shelves. I actually measured them this morning with a measuring tape, and it came out to just over 4 meters per shelf. But I made lace previously in another design with other yarn, but then I learned about cotton yarns, and that is beautiful mercerized cotton, and I decided I'm not going to continue with that. I would rather frog it and make a top or something for myself, and I do have a lot of acrylic yarns in my stash, so I decided I'm gonna make the lace in acrylic yarns because the shelves won't mind wearing acrylic. And I decided to make another pattern. So this is what I have been making. So this morning, so I put it on the shelf to see if it was long enough, and I actually, yesterday when I did the 30 minutes of crafting, I did too much. So I think I ripped out 4 repeats to get to the right length, and the first shelf's lace is finished. So this is the just over 4 meters of lace. And when I started this, crocheting on this one again. I was at this point, I put a progress keeper in from Jalene of the Lekker podcast. Her channel is made by Jalene on YouTube. This was a gift that we got. My friend Leanie and I both got a little progress keeper from her. So this is mine. And I just added this little bit of lace to this one, and this one is finished, as I said. So I'm very, very happy about that. So 1 of 6 is done. Check. But now this morning was contemplating about this lace. I am not exactly sure if I will have enough of this colorway, which is L crochet number 5 in brown sand. I'm not sure if I will have enough of this colorway to do all 6 shelves. So I was wondering, I'm going to still weigh this. I haven't weighed it this morning because it's got the progress keepers in it and I didn't want to take them out. So I'll still weigh this and see, and maybe unwind the cone into cakes and see how much I've got before I start the next one. But I do have a lot of crochet number 5 acrylic yarn in my stash, and I was thinking, if I don't have enough of this color, I will pick the colors that I like the most and that I do have enough of, and maybe make all 6 lace pieces in different colors. Maybe that'll also look nice. But I shall see, and I will keep you updated in the next podcast episode on what I have decided and where I've been going with this lace. So yes, one of the things that I did in my WIP organizing video is I set some goals for myself on how I want to finish all of these old WIPs. So my goals is to finish 1 of each of these WIPs. I think there is 8 WIPs that I added to my current WIP pile. And I decided that I'm going to finish 1 thing each month. So I've been thinking about that, and this lace, I don't see that I will be able to finish 6 pieces of lace of just over 4 meters in 1 month. So I've been working on this, thinking that if I just finish 1 of these pieces of lace in a month, then I'll be finished with it before the end of the year. And the other projects aren't that much work. It's only the 2 cowls that I have to re-knit. That is a lot of work, but I'm positive that I can do it. So I decided to change my goal for the lace by just working on 1 piece per month, and then the other things mixed in between a project a month. So I will get there at the end of the year. So this is my first finished WIP, or partly finished WIP out of my WIP bin. So I just have to weave in these ends and decide on what color I'm going to start next. I do have another future project that I'm going to cast on, as if I do not have enough WIPs. But my aunt actually asked me to make a baby cardigan for a baby boy that will be born in August, for a family member, I think she said. I think it's on her husband's side, so I'm not familiar with that part of the family, but no matter, I don't mind. I'll make her a baby cardigan. She does crochet a bit, but she asked me to help out with this one because she might not have enough time to do it herself. And of course I agreed, and that is going to be a future project. I did reach out to followers on Instagram helping me to get a baby cardigan pattern. I got quite a few lovely suggestions, so thank you very much to everybody who helped out. I sent her a few pictures and she picked the project she wanted, and unfortunately for me, it is a pieced cardigan. So I haven't decided exactly yet, because I don't like sewing knitted or crochet items together that much. So I haven't decided yet if I'm going to make it exactly as per the pattern or if I'm going to adapt it to be worked like raglan increases or something. I shall still see, but I will still cast that on still in this month. It is going to be a crochet baby cardigan, and as I said, it's for a baby boy and it's supposed to be 0 to 3 months or something. The pattern is written for 0 to 6 months, so I think that'll be sufficient. So I'm still going to do that. It will be made with 100% acrylic yarn. I do have the yarn here. I didn't have to go buy it. It came out of my WIP bin as well. It is L Baby 4-ply yarn. So 100% acrylic yarn. So I will use that for that project. Alright, that is that. So let's move on to news. Alright, for the news section, I don't always have acquisitions, but in this episode I do. I actually went last week to Arthur Bales, and I got my hands finally onto some Regia sock yarn. I wanted to test this yarn. I wanted to buy some of this yarn for ever since I started actually knitting socks. But I now at last got my hands on some, and I want to try this and see how they hold up with the socks and the way we wear our socks. So I got 3 different colors, which is these 3. So I got this blue for my husband for socks, and then I got this maroon type of color. It's almost like a garnet type of color for myself, and then I bought the light gray to maybe do heels and toes. I'm not sure yet. But anyway, so I bought enough of this yarn. I bought 2 balls of blue and 2 of the maroon, because these balls is their 50-gram balls. It has 210 meters on the ball for 50 grams. So that is 420 meters in total. And it is 75% virgin wool and 25% polyamide. So if I touch this yarn, it feels a lot like the Naku yarns that I used for most of our socks. And I'm very, very excited to work with this yarn. I actually have a very exciting plan coming up for this yarn. So you will see this yarn in the future. So I added that to my stash. And then, if that was not enough, I had to go visit Lauren as well. So I visited Lauren at Little Yarncroft, and I also bought 2 balls of yarn from her. This is just the Moya Shimmer 50% bamboo, 50% cotton yarns, which is a South African hand-dyed yarn. I bought the color Zeus and Shimmy, and I'm going to use these for 2 designs that I have coming up. And then, oh yes, I also bought another cable for my Chiagu interchangeable set, but it's already in use. So I can't really show that to you, but I mean, it's just a cable. So that is what I bought. Then, what else is news? Other news that we had is Claudia from the Sunbird Crochet Podcast invited myself, Leanie from Independence Crochet, and Jalene from Made by Jalene of the Lekker Podcast to join their Crochet Clan meetup. It is hosted by Faye of the Crochet Circle Podcast, and man, did we laugh. That was so fun. Thank you so much, Claudia, for inviting us. I really enjoyed the meetup. It was a lot of fun. We laughed so much. And yeah, what happens at the Crochet Clan meetup stays at the Crochet Clan meetup. It was a lot of fun. But anyway, so I'm looking forward to the next one, and then we'll have a little visit again. I really enjoyed it. Okay, so that is the news that I have, and then I can just maybe mention no, that's not all of the news that I have. Still have more news. Too much news. I just brought out a video last week of how I organize all of my WIPS. I had a very big bin here in my craft room that I unpacked, and I went through all of them and decided to finish off frog. And as I said, I added quite a few WIPS to my current WIPS. I have just a little bit less than 20 active WIPS at the moment. But as I said, I'm not really afraid of a challenge. I will get through them. But I will link that down below for you if you're interested. You can go and have a look. And then now I can move on to coming up news. So coming up, I have a new design coming very soon, maybe in a week or so. It is this little Tunisian crochet dishcloth that I designed. It is not a very intricate design. It's just a very simple honeycomb stitch crochet, Tunisian crochet dishcloth with a conventional crochet border. I designed this in Venice colors, Serena 100% bamboo. Both of them are the same yarn, and then the main body of this dishcloth is called garnet, and the border is called aqua. Yes, that is coming up next, a new pattern. And then I have announced on Instagram that I am starting a Zoom craft night. I'm going to do that once a month, beginning next month. I've been thinking of maybe somewhere in the middle of the month, in the evening, South African Standard Time, something like 7 o'clock in the evening, maybe on a Friday. I will confirm the dates and announce it on Instagram, and I will talk about it in my next podcast episode as well. The moment I have finalized the date. It's going to be very relaxed. We are just going to chat and decompress after a work week or so, and then just forget about all of the stress of life and just enjoy each other's company and do some crafting. Everybody's welcome. But as I said, I will still announce the exact date and time on Instagram, and we will see how that goes. So that will be starting next month. And then I would just like to mention that the last Sunday of May, I think it's the 29th of May, Leanie of Independence Crochet and I will again do our usual Scrappy Sunday chat. It'll be a live Scrappy Sunday chat, and we will be having a guest again. We haven't confirmed the exact time yet, but keep an eye out on Instagram. We will definitely be announcing it there. I will add a countdown timer to my Instagram stories so that you can get a reminder to come and have fun with us on YouTube. Yes, that is all of the news that I have, I think. I did start in my previous episode with a podcast recommendation section, and I would like to continue that. I was thinking of just doing recommending two new podcasts, or not new, two podcasts that I really enjoy. But I wanted to also say that I talk about these podcasters so frequently. So my dog wants to join us today. This is Flaffi. I'm always talking about her. She doesn't really know about the camera, and she's a bit scared, it seems. Anyway, so She wants to sit on my lap. Alright, just leave my notes, then you can sit. Okay. Alright, so what I was saying is that I talk about these people so frequently, I didn't even think about mentioning them by name, but I thought I will do that in this episode before my 2 podcast recommendations. So all 3 of these people are South African podcasters. They're all very good friends, and I'm going to start with my friend Leanie of Independence Crochet. She's got the Pickup Stitches podcast, and the 2 of us have been friends for a lot of years, and we actually started podcasting together. Our own channels, but at the same time. So I will link all of them down below. The second one I would like to mention is Jalene from the Made by Jalene channel, and she has got the Lekker podcast. She's from the Free State, in Bloemfontein in the Free State, and she's got a lovely podcast, and she actually has the first birthday of her podcast next Sunday on the 22nd of May. She's going to have a live, so please go over to her channel and support her there as well. And then the other one I wanted to mention is the Yarncreations podcast by Adele Marais. She is living in Pretoria, and she's also got a lovely podcast. She's very, very knowledgeable on all things knitting and crochet. Please go over to her channel as well and show her some love and support her there as well. So that is 3 of the South African podcasters I talk about a lot, and as I said, it's like part of the family. I forget to mention them, like promoting their channels, because to me it's like you have to know these people type of thing. But anyway, so let's get to my 2 podcast recommendations. So I just stumbled upon the one just last week actually, and it is called Kiko's Knitting Podcast. She's from Germany. She's actually got a yarn shop in Germany, and she also takes part in the Sock Madness, and she knits with opal yarns, and she makes lots of beautiful things. She actually had a very, very beautiful scarf type of shawl that she showed in the last episode, and oh my goodness, it is so beautiful. She is busy knitting a little baby jacket with the opal yarns, the color changing ones, and it's amazing what you can do with that yarn besides just making socks. I really enjoyed the episode, and she mentioned she was using a 3.3 millimeter crochet hook, and I was like, 3.3 millimeters? That sounds like my 2.3 millimeter DPNs. So I actually sent her a message and asked her about it, and she said that the crochet hook is Japanese sizes, but the Japanese sizes goes up in 0.3 millimeters. So my DPNs is still a mystery. It's definitely not Japanese sizes, because then it should have been 2.4 millimeters. Because as I said, she says that the Japanese sizes goes up by 0.3 millimeters. But that was very interesting to me. I love knowing different types of things and things that goes on in different countries and their traditions and how they make their things. So that is very interesting for me, that Japanese sizes goes up by 0.3 millimeter sizes. I really enjoyed learning that as well. Okay, and then the other one I wanted to mention, I actually started following her from her very first knitting podcast. She's also from Germany. It seems like I've got a theme going, but it wasn't planned, I promise. So this is Anastasia from the Free Your Sheep channel. She's originally from Germany. She moved to Iceland quite a few years ago, and she discovered her love for knitting there. and she knits the most beautiful Icelandic style sweaters. I can just look in awe, really. They are so, so beautiful. I really enjoy seeing all of the beautiful things that she makes, and I think maybe you would like her podcast as well. Okay, so that is all of the content that I have for you for this episode. So for comment question for this episode, I thought let's go with the theme of my previous video of WIPS, and please tell me down below, what do you think of my almost 20 WIPS? Is WIPS a big problem for you, or do you like having a lot of WIPS? It will be very interesting for me to know if you like switching between your projects, or are you more of a monogamous knitter or crocheter in that regard. I really like having a few WIPS because some of them can be more mindless than others, and I can do it in company. But I didn't really know that I have that many WIPS, but I don't see it like a real big problem. It might become a problem if you don't work on them ever, but I do have a plan. I've got a goal system that I'm going to stick to, and I'm going to finish them up to not have so many WIPS, because I think if I must have so much big WIPS, it could be a little bit stressful for me, but I don't know. I don't feel very stressed about it at this point, so seems to not be a problem for me. Anyway, please comment down below and send me your answer. I would really like to know what you think of WIPS. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you would like to see more of my content. And I will see you in the next one. Until next time, happy crafting. Bye.